The morning sun barely touched the cracked windows of the old foster home when 12-year-old Maya slipped out through the back door. Her worn sneakers made no sound on the dew-covered grass as she hurried down the street, clutching a small paper bag in her hands. Inside were 3 cookies she had saved from yesterday's dinner, wrapped carefully in a napkin. Maya had been living with the Peterson family for 8 months now, but it never felt like home. Mrs. Peterson was always busy with her phone, and Mr. Peterson barely looked up from his newspaper. They had 4 other foster kids in the house, and Maya often felt invisible among them all. The only time anyone noticed her was when she did something wrong, but today was different. Today, Maya had a purpose that made her heart beat faster with every step. She was going to see Apache. The animal shelter sat at the end of Maple Street, a gray building with peeling paint and small windows covered in wire mesh. Maya had discovered it 3 weeks ago when she was exploring the neighborhood, trying to find quiet places where she could be alone. She had wandered inside, curious about the sounds of barking dogs and meowing cats. That's when she first saw him. Apache was a large German shepherd with dark brown and black fur that looked like it had seen better days. He sat alone in the corner, cage of the dog area, away from all the other animals. While the other dogs jumped and barked when people walked by, Apache just stared straight ahead with tired, sad eyes. The volunteer at the shelter, a kind older woman named Mrs. Rodriguez, noticed Maya staring at the big dog. "That's Apache," she said softly. "He used to work with soldiers overseas. He's been here for 6 months now." "Why doesn't anyone want him?" Maya asked, pressing her small face against the chain-link fence of his cage. Mrs. Rodriguez looked uncomfortable. "Well, honey, Apache has some problems. He gets scared sometimes and acts angry. People are afraid of big dogs like him, especially ones that have been in war." Maya watched as Apache slowly turned his head toward her. For just a moment their eyes met. In that instant, Maya saw something she recognized, the same lonely, scared feeling that lived inside her own chest every single day. "He's not angry," Maya whispered. "He's just sad." From that day forward, Maya found every excuse to visit the shelter. She told the Petersons she was going to the library, which wasn't completely a lie, since she did stop there sometimes to get books. But her real destination was always the gray building at the end of Maple Street. Apache began to expect her visits. When Maya appeared at his cage, his ears would perk up slightly, and sometimes his tail would give the tiniest wag. She would sit cross-legged on the concrete floor and talk to him through the fence, telling him about her day, about the books she was reading, about her dreams of finding a real family someday. "I know how you feel," she would say, offering him treats through the gaps in the fence. "Nobody wants us either." The shelter workers grew used to seeing the small girl with long, dark hair spending time with the difficult dog. Some of them worried. It wasn't safe, but Mrs. Rodriguez noticed something amazing. Apache was calmer when Maya was around. He never growled or showed his teeth when she was there. He just listened to her soft voice and watched her with those intelligent, sad eyes. Maya learned Apache's story piece by piece from different volunteers. He had worked with soldiers in Afghanistan, helping them find dangerous things hidden by enemies. His job was important and dangerous. But the loud noises of war and scary situations had hurt his mind, just like they sometimes hurt the soldiers he worked with. When Apache came back to America, he couldn't adjust to normal life. Loud sounds made him panic. Strangers made him afraid. He had been returned to the shelter 3 times by families who thought they could help him, but couldn't handle his problems. "The thing is," Mrs. Rodriguez explained to Maya one afternoon, "Apache needs special care. He needs someone who understands his problems and has time to help him feel safe again. Most people want a dog that's already happy and easy to take care of." Maya nodded, but inside her heart was breaking. She knew exactly what that felt like. As weeks passed, Maya noticed that Apache seemed to trust her more and more. She discovered that if she sat very still and quiet, he would come close to the fence and let her touch his nose through the wire. His fur was soft and his nose was wet and cold. When she scratched behind his ears, his eyes would close peacefully. "You're a good boy, Apache," she would whisper. "You're just scared, but that's okay." I'm scared too sometimes. Maya began bringing him cookies, apple slices, and sometimes leftover meat from dinner. She saved her own food to share with him, even when her stomach rumbled with hunger. Apache always ate gently from her hand, never snapping or being rough. One rainy Thursday afternoon, Maya arrived at the shelter to find Mrs. Rodriguez and two other workers having a serious conversation near Apache's cage. Their voices were low, but Maya's sharp ears caught words that made her stomach drop. No adoptions, 6 months, decision, and worst of all, next week. Maya waited until the workers walked away, then ran to Apache's cage. The big dog looked up at her with those familiar sad eyes, and somehow Maya knew he could sense that something bad was coming. "What's wrong, boy?" she asked, kneeling down. By the fence, Mrs. Rodriguez approached slowly, her face showing the kind of expression adults wear when they have to give bad news to children. "Maya, honey, I need to talk to you about Apache." Maya's hands gripped the chain-link fence tightly. "What's happening?" Mrs. Rodriguez sighed deeply. "Sweetheart, Apache has been here for 6 months without anyone adopting him. The shelter has rules about how long animals can stay if nobody wants them. We've tried everything, putting his picture online, taking him to adoption events, working with rescue groups. But people are scared of dogs with his problems." "But he's not scary," Maya protested. "He's sweet and gentle and smart." "I know, honey, you and I can see that, but most people only see a big dog with behavior issues. They want pets that are easy and fun, not ones that need special care." Maya felt tears starting in her eyes. "What happens to him?" Mrs. Rodriguez looked away. "Next Tuesday. If nobody adopts Apache, we'll have to help him go, to sleep forever. It's peaceful and he won't feel any pain, but..." "No." The word burst out of Maya louder than she intended. Apache stood up in his cage, alert and concerned by her distress. "You can't! He's not a bad dog. He just needs someone to love him." "Maya, please understand. We've done everything we can. The shelter is full, and we need space for other animals. Apache has had chances, but people just don't want to adopt a dog with his problems." Maya's mind raced frantically. Tuesday was only 5 days away. 5 days for Apache to live unless someone adopted him. But who would want a scared, sad dog that most people thought was dangerous? That night, Maya lay awake in her narrow bed, in the foster home, listening to the sounds of the other kids sleeping around her. Her roommate, a 7-year-old named Lisa, was snoring softly. Through the thin walls, she could hear Mrs. Peterson watching television downstairs. Maya thought about Apache, alone in his cage at the shelter. Did he know what was going to happen? Could dogs understand when their time was running out? She thought about all the times she had felt unwanted, all the times she had been moved from one place to another because nobody really wanted to keep her. She knew that feeling of watching people look at you and then turn away, deciding you weren't worth the trouble, but Apache was worth it. He was loyal and brave and had helped soldiers in dangerous places. He deserved a chance to be happy and safe. Maya made a decision that night. She didn't know how, but she was going to save Apache. She was going to find a way to give him the home he deserved. The next morning, Maya used her allowance money to buy a small notebook and a pen from the dollar store. She spent the weekend writing down everything she knew about Apache. How gentle he was with her, how he only got scared when there were loud noises, how he liked to have his ears scratched, how he was calm and peaceful when someone talked to him softly. On Monday afternoon, Maya arrived at the shelter with her notebook and a plan that seemed impossible, but felt like the only hope she had. She found Mrs. Rodriguez cleaning the cat cages and approached her with determination she had never felt before. "Mrs. Rodriguez, I need to talk to you about Apache." The older woman looked up from her work. "Oh, honey, I know this is hard. Tomorrow is his last day, and nobody has called about adopting him." Maya took a deep breath. "I want to adopt him." Mrs. Rodriguez's face softened with sympathy. "Maya, sweetie, you know that's not possible. You're just a child. Children can't adopt pets." "But why not?" Maya's voice was stronger now, more confident. "I love him. He loves me. I know how to take care of him. I know what makes him scared and what makes him happy. Isn't that what matters? Oh, honey. Mrs. Rodriguez put down her cleaning supplies and knelt to Maya's level. Love is the most important thing. You're right about that. But adopting a pet means being responsible for feeding them, taking them to the doctor, giving them a safe place to live. Adults have to do those things because they have jobs and money and houses. The person who had been listening around the corner was Dr. Elena Vasquez, a therapist who worked with veterans and their families. She had come to the shelter that Monday afternoon looking for a calm, gentle dog to join her therapy practice. Dr. Vasquez helped soldiers who came back from war with invisible wounds, the kind of hurt that lived in their minds and hearts, just like Apache's problems. Dr. Vasquez had heard Maya's desperate plea to Apache, and the words had stopped her, in her tracks. In 20 years of working with trauma, she had never heard anything quite like it. The pure honesty in the young girl's voice, the way she had asked the dog to adopt her instead of the other way around, it showed a kind of understanding that most adults never reached. After Maya left the shelter that afternoon, Dr. Vasquez approached Mrs. Rodriguez. "That little girl who was talking to the German shepherd," she said quietly. "How long has she been coming here?" Mrs. Rodriguez looked surprised. "Maya? About 3 weeks now. She comes almost every day to visit Apache. That dog won't let anyone else get close to him, but with her he's completely different. It's like she speaks his language." Dr. Vasquez nodded thoughtfully. "What do you know about her situation?" "She's in foster care. Lives with the Peterson family across town." "Sweet child, but you can tell she's been through a lot. She has that look, you know, the same look Apache has, like she's waiting for the next bad thing to happen." That evening, Dr. Vasquez made several phone calls. First, she called her friend Janet Morris, who worked for Child Protective Services. Then she called Dr. Michael Torres, a veterinarian who specialized in working with military dogs. Finally, she called her supervisor at the Veterans Therapy Center where she worked. "I think I found something special," she told each of them, "but I'm going to need help to make it work." The next morning, Tuesday, Apache's last day, Maya arrived at the shelter earlier than usual. She had barely slept, and her eyes were red from crying. She had used her lunch money to buy Apache a hamburger from the fast food place near school, thinking it should be something special for his last meal. Apache seemed to sense that something was different. He was more restless than usual, pacing back and forth in his cage. When he saw Maya approaching, he pressed himself against the fence and whined softly. "Hey, boy," Maya whispered, unwrapping the hamburger. "I brought you something good." As Apache ate the hamburger through the fence, Maya talked to him about everything and nothing. She told him about the math test she had failed yesterday because she couldn't concentrate. She told him about how the other kids at school never included her in their games. She told him about the dream she had the night before, where she and Apache were running together in a big field with no fences anywhere. "I wish I could take you home with me," she said, scratching his ears through the wire. "But the Petersons would never let me. Mrs. Peterson says dogs are too much work and too expensive. She says kids in foster care can't have pets because we might have to move again." Apache pressed his face against her hand and closed his eyes as she petted him. Maya memorized everything about this moment, the way his fur felt, the sound of his breathing, the trust in his eyes when he looked at her. Around noon, Mrs. Rodriguez approached Maya with tears in her eyes. "Honey, I'm so sorry. It's time. We have to take Apache now." Maya felt like someone had dumped ice water in her stomach. "Please, just 5 more minutes." "Of course, sweetheart." Maya pressed her face close to the fence. "Apache, I want you to know that you're the best dog in the world. You're brave and kind and you deserve to be loved. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I'm sorry I'm just a kid who can't do anything important." Apache seemed to understand that something final was happening. He put his paw up against the fence where Maya's hand was pressed on the other side. For a moment, they stayed like that. A girl and a dog saying goodbye through chain link and wire. That's when Dr. Vasquez walked into the shelter area, followed by Janet Morris from Child Services and Dr. Torres, the veterinarian. "Wait, Doctor," Vasquez called out as two shelter workers approached Apache's cage with a leash. "I'd like to talk to everyone before any decisions are made." Mrs. Rodriguez looked confused. "I'm sorry, but Apache's time is up. We have rules." "I understand. But I'm Dr. Elena Vasquez from the Veterans Therapy Center, and I have a proposition that might change everything." Maya looked up from Apache's cage, her face streaked with tears. "Who are you?" Dr. Vasquez knelt down beside Maya. "I'm someone who helps soldiers and their families heal from the hard things they've been through. Yesterday I heard you talking to Apache, and I think you might be exactly what he needs. And he might be exactly what you need too." "I don't understand," Maya said. Janet Morris, the social worker, stepped forward. "Maya, I've been reviewing your case file. You've been in foster care for 3 years, and you've had 5 different placements. The reports say you're a good kid, but you have trouble connecting with people and trusting adults. Is that fair to say?" Maya nodded slowly, not sure where this was going. "What if I told you there was a family looking for a foster child who needs healing, just like Apache needs healing? A family that believes in helping both kids and animals get better together?" Dr. Vasquez explained her idea. "Maya, there are therapy programs where specially trained animals help people work through difficult emotions and experiences. What I saw yesterday between you and Apache was natural therapy happening on its own. You understand each other in a way that's very rare. But Apache is going to—" Maya couldn't finish the sentence. "Not anymore," Dr. Torres spoke up. "If this program works the way Dr. Vasquez thinks it will, Apache could become a therapy dog. Instead of being put to sleep, he'd have a job helping people, which is what he was trained to do in the Army." Maya's heart started beating faster. "You mean he wouldn't die? Not only would he live," Dr. Vasquez said, "but he'd live with a family that specializes in foster care for children who have been through trauma. The Rivera family has been doing this work for 15 years. They have a big house with a large yard, and they've been looking for the right dog to join their therapy program." Maya couldn't believe what she was hearing. "They would want both of us?" Janet Morris smiled. "Maya, the Rivera family has been asking for a child who could help them with their animal therapy work. Someone who understands animals and has the patience to work with them. When Dr. Vasquez called me last night and described what she saw between you and Apache, we all agreed it sounded like the perfect match." "But what if they don't like me?" Maya asked. "What if I do something wrong, and they send me back? What if Apache gets scared and they decide he's too much trouble?" Dr. Vasquez sat down on the floor next to Maya. "Those are all scary possibilities. But here's what I know. You and Apache already trust each other. That's the hardest part. The rest we can work on together." Mrs. Rodriguez had been listening to this conversation with growing amazement. "Are you saying you want to place Maya and Apache together?" "That's exactly what we're saying," Janet Morris confirmed. "It would be a trial placement at first, just like any foster situation. But if it works out, Maya would have a stable home, and Apache would have the specialized care he needs while also having a job to do." Maya looked at Apache, who was watching the entire conversation with alert, intelligent eyes. "What do you think, boy? Do you want to try being a family?" Apache's tail began to wag. Not just the tiny wag Maya was used to seeing, but a real, happy wag that made his whole body wiggle. Dr. Torres opened Apache's cage for the first time in weeks. Instead of cowering in the back or showing aggression, like he did with other strangers, Apache walked calmly to Maya and sat beside her. "This is remarkable," Dr. Torres said. "I've evaluated Apache several times, and he's never shown this level of trust and calm behavior with anyone." Over the next hour, the adults made phone calls and filled out paperwork while Maya sat with Apache in the shelter's small yard. For the first time, she could pet him without a fence between them. Apache leaned against her side, finally able to relax completely. "Are you scared?" Maya asked him. "I am. But maybe scared together is better than scared alone." Apache licked her cheek, which made Maya laugh for the first time in days. Dr. Vasquez explained that Maya and Apache would need to go through training together. They would learn how to help other children who had been through difficult experiences. Maya would learn about different kinds of therapy, and Apache would learn how to stay calm and helpful even when people were upset or afraid. It won't be easy, Dr. Vasquez warned. Both of you have healing to do. There will be hard days. But you'll have each other, and you'll have the Rivera family, and you'll have our whole team supporting you. Maya thought about this. She had never had a whole team of people wanting to help her before. She had never had anyone who thought she could do something important and meaningful. When can we meet the Rivera family? She asked. Tomorrow morning, Janet Morris said. They're very excited to meet both of you. The Rivera family lived in a house that looked like something from Maya's dreams. It was painted soft yellow with white trim, surrounded by a tall wooden fence that enclosed a huge backyard with trees and flower gardens. When Maya and Apache arrived with Dr. Vasquez and Janet Morris the next morning, Maya felt her stomach flip with nervousness. What if they take one look at me and change their minds? She whispered to Apache as they walked up the front steps. Apache stayed close by her side, his shoulder touching her leg in a way that felt protective and comforting. The door opened before they could knock. A woman with kind eyes and graying hair smiled at them warmly. Behind her stood a man with a gentle face and two teenage girls who looked curious but friendly. You must be Maya and Apache, the woman said. I'm Carmen Rivera, and this is my husband Luis. These are our daughters Isabella and Sofia. We've heard so much about both of you. Maya had been in enough foster homes to know how to read people quickly. The Rivera family felt different from the others. They looked at her like they were genuinely happy to see her, not like she was a problem they had to solve or a check they would receive from the state. Luis knelt down to Apache's level but didn't try to pet him right away. Hello, Apache. Thank you for your service, soldier. We have a nice quiet place for you here. Apache's ears perked up at the respectful tone, and his tail gave a small wag. The first few days at the Rivera house were better than Maya had dared to hope. Apache had his own bed in Maya's room, and for the first time in months he slept through the night without whimpering from bad dreams. Maya had her own desk, her own closet, and, most amazingly, Carmen asked her what she liked to eat instead of just putting food in front of her. I want you both to feel at home here, Carmen explained as she helped Maya unpack her few belongings. This isn't just a place you're staying temporarily. If things work out, this could be your real home for as long as you need it. Maya had heard promises like this before, but something about the way Carmen said it made her want to believe it might actually be true. Dr. Vasquez came to visit every few days to work with Maya and Apache on their therapy training. She taught Maya how to recognize when Apache was feeling anxious and what to do to help him feel safe. She taught Apache commands that would help him assist children who were scared or upset. The goal, Dr. Vasquez explained, is for Apache to provide comfort and stability while you help other kids understand that healing is possible. Your story, both of your stories, shows that even when things seem hopeless, there can still be happy endings. Maya loved the training sessions. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was good at something important. Apache seemed to understand that he had a job to do, and having a purpose made him more confident and calm. But not everyone was convinced that the arrangement would work. 3 weeks into Maya's placement with the Rivera family, problems began to surface. First, there was an incident at the therapy center when Apache became frightened by the loud rumble of a garbage truck passing outside. He knocked over a table and broke a lamp while trying to hide. Then Maya had a nightmare about her biological mother, who had left her at a gas station when Maya was 7 years old. She woke up screaming and crying, which scared Apache so badly that he started barking and wouldn't stop for 20 minutes. The most serious problem came when Maya was at her new school. A boy in her class made fun of her for being in foster care, calling her unwanted and thrown away. Maya lost her temper and pushed him, which got her suspended for 3 days. When Janet Morris came to check on Maya's progress, she had a stack of incident reports and a worried expression. Maya, I know you're trying hard, she said as they sat in the Rivera family's living room. But there have been several concerning incidents. The state is questioning whether this placement is appropriate for a child with your challenges. What does that mean? Maya asked, though she was afraid she already knew. It means some people think you might do better in a more structured environment. There's a group home across town that specializes in children with behavioral issues. They think you might be more successful there. Maya felt like the floor had disappeared beneath her feet. What about Apache? Janet Morris looked uncomfortable. Apache would go back to the shelter program. Dr. Vasquez thinks he could still work. As a therapy dog, just not in a home setting. You mean we'd be separated? Maya, I know this is hard to hear, but maybe trying to place you together was too ambitious. Sometimes the best intentions don't work out in real life. Carmen Rivera had been listening quietly, but now she spoke up. With respect, Ms. Morris, I don't think 3 weeks is enough time to judge whether this placement is working. Maya and Apache have both made significant progress. Yes, there have been some difficult moments, but that's normal for any child and animal who have experienced trauma. Mrs. Rivera, I appreciate your commitment to Maya, but the state has to consider her safety and the safety of others. A large dog with PTSD and a child with attachment issues might not be the best combination. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She sat by her bedroom window with Apache's head in her lap, watching the stars and trying to figure out what to do. In 2 days, Janet Morris was coming back with a final decision about whether Maya could stay with the Rivera family or if she would be moved to the group home. It's not fair, Apache, she whispered. Just when we found somewhere we belong, they want to split us up again. Apache whined softly and licked her hand, as if he understood that their time together might be running out. Maya made a decision that would either save their placement or destroy any chance they had of staying together. The next morning, while the Rivera family was busy with their various activities, Maya quietly packed a small backpack with some clothes, her notebook about Apache, and the $23 she had saved from her allowance. She wrote a note explaining that she and Apache were running away to find a place where they could stay together. Come on, boy, she whispered to Apache. Let's go find our own home. Maya had researched bus routes to other towns where she thought they might be able to start over. Her plan was to find a job, maybe walking dogs or helping at an animal shelter, and rent a small apartment where she and Apache could live without anyone trying to separate them. It was a plan that could only make sense to a desperate 12-year-old girl who had been disappointed by adults too, many times to trust that they would keep their promises. Maya and Apache made it 6 blocks from the Rivera house before their escape plan began to fall apart. First, Apache started showing signs of anxiety from being outside his familiar territory. He kept looking back toward the Rivera house and whining. Maya tried to encourage him to keep walking, but she could tell he was getting more upset with each step. Then it started to rain. Maya had forgotten to pack an umbrella or rain jackets. Within minutes, both she and Apache were soaked and shivering. Apache's anxiety increased as the rain fell harder, and he began to pant and pace in the way that meant he was having flashbacks to scary times in his past. Maya found shelter under a bus stop, but Apache was too upset to settle down. He started barking at cars passing by, seeing threats everywhere. Maya tried all the calming techniques Dr. Vasquez had taught her, but Apache was too frightened to respond. That's when Maya realized how foolish her plan had been. Apache needed his safe space, his routine, his familiar people. By trying to save their relationship, she had put both of them in danger. I'm sorry, Apache, she said, wrapping her arms around the shaking dog. I thought I could take care of you, but I'm just a kid. I don't know how to help you when you're this scared. Apache pressed against Maya, seeking comfort from the only person he trusted, even though that person was just as lost and frightened as he was. They might have stayed there for hours, getting colder and wetter, if Luis Rivera hadn't found them. Maya heard her name being called through the rain and looked up to see Luis running toward them with an umbrella and a worried expression. Maya, Apache, thank God you're both okay. Apache's ears perked up at the familiar voice, and his barking stopped immediately. We were so scared when we found your note, Luis said, kneeling down beside them. The whole family is out looking for you. Maya started crying then, all the fear and disappointment and exhaustion of the past few weeks pouring out at once. They're going to send us away anyway, she sobbed. Ms. Morris says I have too many problems and Apache is too dangerous. I thought, if we ran away, at least we could be together. Luis gently helped Maya to her feet and put his jacket around her shoulders. Maya, running away isn't going to solve anything. And Apache needs you to make good decisions, not scared ones. But they don't want us. Who doesn't want you? Nobody. Every family I've lived with eventually decides I'm too much trouble. Every home Apache has been in decides he's too difficult. We're both just broken. Luis looked at Maya with an expression she had never seen before, like she had said something that made him both sad and angry at the same time. The next morning, Maya woke up before dawn with butterflies dancing in her stomach. Today was the day that would decide whether she and Apache could stay with the Rivera family or if they would be separated forever. She had barely slept, and Apache seemed to sense her anxiety because he stayed pressed close against her side all night. "Today's the big day, boy," Maya whispered, scratching behind his ears. "We have to show them that we belong together." Apache's tail gave a small wag, and he licked her cheek as if to say he understood. At 8 o'clock sharp, 3 cars pulled up in front of the Rivera house. Janet Morris stepped out of the first car, followed by Dr. Hamilton, a state supervisor Maya had never met before. From the second car emerged Dr. Patricia Wong, a child psychologist who specialized in evaluating difficult cases. The third car brought 2 officials from the Animal Control Department, who were there to assess whether Apache was safe to live in a home with children. Maya watched from her bedroom window as all these serious-looking adults walked up to the front door. Her hands were shaking as she got dressed in the nice blue dress Carmen had bought for her. "Remember what we practiced," Carmen said gently as she helped Maya brush her hair. "Just be yourself and tell the truth about how you feel. Apache will do his part by showing them how well-behaved he can be." The evaluation began in the Rivera family's living room. Maya sat on the couch with Apache lying calmly at her feet, while the officials asked question after question. Dr. Hamilton looked stern and unfriendly. "Maya, we've reviewed the incident reports from your time here. Can you explain why you pushed a classmate at school?" Maya felt her cheeks get hot with embarrassment. "He said I was unwanted and thrown away like garbage. It made me really angry, and I shouldn't have pushed him, but I couldn't help it. And can you explain why you and Apache ran away yesterday?" Maya glanced at Carmen, who gave her an encouraging nod. "I was scared that you were going to separate us. Apache is my best friend, and he needs me. I thought if we ran away, we could stay together. But I realized that was a stupid idea because Apache needs his safe space and his routine. I can't take care of him by myself because I'm just a kid." Dr. Wong scribbled notes in her folder. "Maya, tell me about your relationship with Apache. What makes you think he needs you?" This was the question Maya had been hoping for. She sat up straighter and looked directly at Dr. Wong. "Apache gets scared sometimes because of bad things that happened to him in the war. When he's scared, he shakes in pants and his eyes get really wide. But when I talk to him in a soft voice and remind him that he's safe now, he calms down. I know exactly how to pet him to make him feel better, and he knows when I'm sad or scared, too." As if on cue, Apache lifted his head and looked at Maya, then gently placed his paw on her knee. One of the animal control officers, a man named Officer Johnson, had been watching this interaction carefully. "Maya, can you show us what you do when Apache gets anxious?" Maya nodded. "Dr. Vasquez taught me some techniques, but I was already doing some of them naturally. Watch this." Maya made a sudden loud clapping sound, which caused Apache to startle and begin showing signs of stress. Immediately, Maya got down on the floor next to him and began speaking in a calm, low voice. "It's okay, Apache. You're safe. We're in Carmen's house with people who care about us. Listen to my voice. Feel my hand on your back. Breathe with me." Within less than a minute, Apache's panting had slowed, his body had relaxed, and he was looking at Maya with complete trust and attention. Officer Johnson looked impressed despite himself. "That's remarkable. Most people would either get scared or try to restrain him physically. Maya's approach is exactly what professional dog trainers teach for anxiety management." Dr. Wong made more notes. "Maya, what do you think Apache does for you?" Maya thought carefully before answering. "Apache helps me feel less alone. Before I met him, I always felt like nobody wanted me or understood how I felt. But Apache knows what it's like to be scared and not fit in anywhere. When I'm with him, I don't feel broken anymore. I feel like maybe we can help each other get better. Dr. Hamilton interrupted. But Maya, your recent behavior suggests that you're not ready for the responsibilities that come with caring for an animal. Running away was extremely poor judgment. Maya felt tears starting in her eyes, but she blinked them back. You're right. Running away was wrong, and it was dangerous for both of us. But I learned something important from making that mistake. What did you learn? I learned that I can't do everything by myself, but I don't have to. The Rivera family wants to help me take care of Apache, and Dr. Vasquez is teaching me how to do it right. I learned that making one bad decision doesn't mean I'm a bad person, or that Apache and I can't be together. It just means I need to ask for help instead of trying to handle everything alone. Carmen spoke up from where she had been sitting quietly. If I may add something, Maya's response to yesterday's crisis actually shows how much she's grown. Yes, she made a poor choice initially, but when she realized Apache was in distress, she prioritized his needs over her own wishes. That shows maturity and genuine care. Dr. Vasquez, who had been invited to attend the evaluation, opened her professional folder. I'd like to share some observations from my work with Maya and Apache over the past month. She showed the officials videos she had taken of Maya and Apache working together during therapy sessions. In one video, Maya was helping a young boy who was afraid of dogs learn to feel comfortable around Apache. In another, Apache was providing comfort to a teenage girl who was crying about her parents' divorce. What you see here, Dr. Vasquez explained, is natural therapeutic instinct. Maya intuitively understands how to help both Apache and the children we work with feel safe and supported. Apache responds to Maya in ways he doesn't respond to anyone else, including trained professionals. Dr. Wong studied the videos carefully. This is quite impressive. Maya, how do you feel when you're helping other children? Maya's face lit up. It feels amazing. Like I'm actually good at something important. When I help another kid feel better, or when Apache helps someone stop crying, it makes me think that maybe all the bad stuff that happened to us wasn't for nothing. Maybe we can use our experience to help other people. Officer Johnson asked to see Maya demonstrate Apache's training. Commands. Maya put Apache through his paces, showing how he could sit, stay, come when called, and perform his special therapy dog behaviors like visit, gently approaching someone who needed comfort, and settle, lying calmly beside someone who was upset. Apache's obedience and responsiveness to Maya is exceptional, Officer Johnson noted. In my 15 years of evaluating dogs, I've rarely seen this level of communication and trust between a child and an animal. Dr. Hamilton still looked skeptical. But what about the risks? Maya is still a child with a history of behavioral problems. Apache is a large dog with documented PTSD. What happens when there's a crisis we haven't seen yet? Luis Rivera stood up from his chair. Dr. Hamilton, may I share something with you? He walked over to a bookshelf and pulled out a thick photo album. This album contains pictures and stories from the 17 foster children Carmen and I have cared for over the past 15 years. Every single one of them came to us with problems. Every single one of them had been labeled as difficult or challenging by the system. Luis opened the album and showed page after page of photos. Children at birthday parties, graduation ceremonies, wedding celebrations holding their own babies. 4 of these children we adopted permanently. The others stayed with us for shorter periods before being reunified with family members or moving to other permanent homes, but every one of them learned that they were worthy of love and capable of success. He turned to a recent page that showed Maya and Apache in the backyard, both of them laughing and playing. Maya and Apache remind me why Carmen and I do this work. They remind me that healing is possible, that love can overcome trauma, and that sometimes the most broken things become the most beautiful when they're given a chance to mend. Carmen added, Dr. Hamilton, we're not asking you to ignore the risks or the challenges. We're asking you to consider the progress that's already been made and the potential for even greater healing in the future. Maya and Apache have found something in each other that no amount of professional therapy has been able to provide, the understanding that they're not alone in their struggles. Dr. Wong closed her folder and looked directly at Maya. Maya, If you could say anything to convince us that you and Apache should stay together, what would it be? Maya took a deep breath and reached down to put her hand on Apache's head. I would say that Apache and I are both better together than we are apart. Before I met him, I was angry all the time and I didn't trust anyone. Before he met me, Apache was so scared that nobody could get near him. But together, we're not angry or scared kids and dogs anymore. We're a team that can help other people feel less alone. She paused and looked at each of the adults in the room. I know I'm just 12 years old and I know Apache is just a dog with problems, but 8 months later, Maya stood in front of the mirror in her bedroom, her real bedroom, in her real home with her real family, adjusting the blue ribbon around Apache's neck. Today was a special day, the kind of day Maya used to only dream about. "Look at us, Apache," she said, admiring their reflection. "Who would have thought that two scared, unwanted outcasts would end up here?" Apache's tail wagged as he looked at himself in the mirror. He was wearing his official therapy dog vest with patches that read Certified Therapy Dog and Veteran. His coat was shiny and healthy, and his eyes held a confidence and peace that had taken months to develop. Maya had changed too. Her hair was longer now, styled in a way that made her feel pretty and grown up. She had grown 2 inches taller and gained 15 pounds of healthy weight. But the biggest change wasn't physical. It was the way she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who knew she was loved and valued. Today marked the 1-year anniversary of the day Maya had desperately begged Apache to adopt her at the animal shelter. It was also the day of Maya's official adoption ceremony with the Rivera family, and the celebration of Apache's first year as a certified therapy dog. The living room was filled with people who had become important parts of Maya and Apache's story. Dr. Vasquez was there with her husband and 2 children. Mrs. Rodriguez from the animal shelter had come with a group of volunteers. Janet Morris, the social worker who had once been ready to separate Maya and Apache, sat in the front row with tears of joy in her eyes. Even some of the children and families Maya and Apache had worked with over the past year had come to celebrate. There was Tommy, an 8-year-old boy who had been too scared to speak after witnessing domestic violence, until Apache helped him find his voice again. There was Rebecca, a teenage girl who had struggled with depression, until working with Maya and Apache taught her that healing was possible. Judge Martinez, who was presiding over the adoption ceremony, smiled as she looked at the packed room. "In 30 years of family court, I have never seen an adoption ceremony with quite this many supporters. Maya, it's clear that you and Apache have touched many lives." Carmen Rivera stood up to address the court. "Your Honor, when Luis and I first became foster parents 15 years ago, we dreamed of making a difference in children's lives, but we never imagined that one of our foster children would teach us as much as she learned from us." She looked at Maya with eyes full of love. "Maya has shown us what courage looks like. She has shown us that healing is not about forgetting the past, but about using your experiences to help others. She and Apache have created something beautiful from something that was broken." Luis stood beside his wife. "Your Honor, we are not just adopting Maya today. We are celebrating the fact that she chose us as much as we chose her. She has made our family stronger, more compassionate, and more complete." Judge Martinez asked Maya to step forward. "Maya, do you understand what it means to be adopted by the Rivera family?" Maya's voice was clear and confident as she answered, "Yes, Your Honor. It means that I will legally be their daughter, and they will legally be my parents. But more than that, it means I have found my forever family, people who will love me and support me no matter what happens. And are you ready to take on the responsibilities that come with being part of this family?" "Yes, Your Honor. I'm ready to be the best daughter, sister, and therapy dog partner I can be." Judge Martinez signed the official papers with a flourish. "Maya Rivera, welcome to your forever family." The room erupted in applause and cheers. Maya felt Carmen's arms wrap around her as Apache jumped up to join their celebration hug. For a moment, Maya was overwhelmed by the realization that this was really happening. She finally had a family that was truly hers. After the ceremony, everyone gathered in the Rivera backyard for a celebration barbecue. Maya moved through the crowd with Apache by her side, accepting congratulations and sharing stories about their work together. Dr. Vasquez pulled Maya aside for a private conversation. "Maya, I want to talk to you about something exciting. The state has asked us to expand our therapy dog program, and they want you and Apache to help train other child and dog teams." Maya's eyes widened. "You mean there could be other kids like me working with dogs like Apache?" "Exactly. Your success has shown that children who have experienced trauma can be incredibly effective in helping both animals and other children heal. Would you be interested in being a mentor?" Maya looked at Apache, who seemed to sense the importance of the conversation. "Apache, what do you think? Should we help other kids find what we found?" Apache's tail wagged enthusiastically and Maya laughed. "I think that's a yes from both of us." Later that evening, as the last guests were leaving, Maya sat in the backyard, swing with Apache's head in her lap. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Carmen came and sat beside them. "How are you feeling, mija?" Carmen asked, using the Spanish word for my daughter that had become her special name for Maya. "I feel like I'm dreaming," Maya said honestly. "A year ago, I was just a scared kid who thought nobody would ever want me. Apache was just a scared dog who everybody thought was too dangerous to save. Now look at us." Carmen followed Maya's gaze, across the yard where Luis was teaching Isabella and Sofia how to grill vegetables, their laughter filling the evening air. "Maya, do you remember what you said to Apache that day at the shelter, when you asked him to adopt you?" Maya nodded. "I said, 'Please adopt me, Apache. I don't have anywhere to belong either. Maybe we could belong together.'" "Those might have been the wisest words ever spoken by a 12-year-old, Carmen said. "You understood something that many adults never figure out, that healing happens in relationship. That belonging is something we create together, not something we find ready-made." Maya thought about this. Over the past year, she had learned so much about herself, about Apache, about what it meant to be part of a family. She had learned that being loved didn't mean being perfect. She had learned that having problems didn't make her broken. She had learned that sometimes the most beautiful things grow from the most difficult circumstances. "Carmen," Maya said quietly, "do you think Apache and I will always have sad parts in our story?" Carmen considered this question carefully. "Mija, I think Apache will always remember the war, and you will always remember the years before you found your family. But I don't think those memories will always make you sad. I think they'll remind you of how far you've come and how much you've overcome." As if to prove her point, Apache lifted his head and looked directly at Maya with eyes that held peace instead of fear. "You know what the best part is?" Maya said. "What's that, mija?" "The story isn't over yet. We get to help other kids and dogs write their own happy endings." 3 months later, Maya and Apache were featured on the cover of Therapy, Animals Today magazine. The article told their story and announced the launch of the Second Chances program, which would pair rescued animals with children in foster care to provide mutual healing and support. The program's waiting list filled up within a week of the article's publication. Families from across the country reached out, wanting to learn how they could create similar programs in their communities. Maya, now 13 and in her first year of high school, had started a blog called Apache and Me, where she shared stories about their therapy work and offered advice to other young people who were struggling with trauma or loss. Her posts were read by thousands of people around the world, but perhaps the most meaningful recognition came from an unexpected source. On a warm Saturday morning, Maya and Apache were conducting a training session for new therapy dog teams when a familiar car pulled up in front of the Rivera house. Maya's heart skipped a beat when she saw who was getting out of the passenger seat. It was her former foster sister, Lisa, the little girl who used to share Maya's room at the Peterson house. Lisa was now 10 years old and had been adopted by a loving family, but she still remembered Maya and had asked her new parents to help her find her. "Maya!" Lisa called out, running across the yard. "I saw your picture in a magazine at the doctor's office. My mom helped me look you up online." Maya hugged Lisa tightly, amazed at how much the little girl had grown. "Lisa, I can't believe you found me. And look at you, You look so happy. And healthy. Lisa knelt down to pet Apache, who was gently wagging his tail. Is this the famous Apache? He's even more beautiful than in the pictures. Lisa, this is Apache. Apache, this is my friend Lisa. She lived with me at the Peterson house. Apache seemed to understand the significance of this meeting. He approached Lisa calmly and allowed her to scratch behind his ears, then gently placed his paw on her knee in his signature greeting. Lisa's adoptive mother, a kind woman named Patricia, approached with tears in her eyes. Maya, Lisa talks about you all the time. She says you used to read to her at night and make her feel safe when she had bad dreams. When she saw your story in the magazine, she begged us to find you. Maya felt overwhelmed with emotion. She had often wondered what